There's this bizarre phenomenon where we cut celebrities slack when they f up, especially the ones we like. But I'll touch on that in a bit. Austin Jones.
Hi, my name is Aurora, and this is a story about how Austin Jones wanted me to twerk for him.
I've recently come under some fire on social media for mistakes I've made in the past. I used to ask fans for twerking videos. Yes, twerking, the dance move. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I think is right, and I shouldn't have done it.
Since the beginning of the platform, artists have used YouTube as a method to gain fame and notoriety. Whether it be acting, singing, or directing, there have been many success stories. But fame comes with ego, and fame can bring out the worst in a person. Austin Jones grew a sizable following, but he used his fame to manipulate his young fan base and use them for his own sick pleasures. I am going to warn you here, this video is going to discuss topics relating to CP, and how some people use their position in society to fulfill dark fantasies, as well as prey on the most vulnerable. I will completely understand if this topic will trigger you, and if it would, I say proceed with caution, or just turn off the video. I care about the well-being of my audience. I will never get mad if you turn off the video because the subject of the video is too hard to get through. With that out of the way, I don't care to find out where he was born, or where he's from, or what his early life was like. Later, we will have to explain his video where he apologized for his actions, where he will make excuses for what he did. And to those excuses, I will say up front, there is no excuse for what he did. Attempting to explain away one's actions with the excuse of a hard childhood and depression is a manipulative tactic. It is used to make someone feel sorry for what a subject has gone through instead of looking at what the subject has done. There are plenty of people who have suffered abuses in their past, suffered mental illness, or both, who have not harmed another person. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I guess where we should start with this subhuman piece of trash is where he got the majority of eyes on him, YouTube. And later Vine. At age 15, Austin started his YouTube channel. Because of when he started that channel, which was 2007, it meant that this Jared Fogle wannabe was an original YouTuber. He thought himself a singer, songwriter, and comedian. While I can say he had some talent for music, I will have to say I'm not interested in seeing how he was at comedy. Mostly because I really don't care to look at his content. Using YouTube as a platform to launch a music career, though, has been successful in the past. As much as I hate his music, Justin Bieber started on YouTube. But this is just my opinion. There's only one good musician that came from YouTube.
Froggy Fresh 2012.
Austin started his channel doing mostly a cappella covers of famous bands. Bands like Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, and Justin Bieber. He did a lot of covers, and had a hairstyle that Karens would later adopt to try to intimidate people. Seriously, what the hell is up with this hairstyle? It just looks goofy. He definitely had money as well, as he was able to afford a good setup to make high quality videos, which amassed him a huge following. 40 million channel views. At the height of his channel, over 5,000 subscribers. Now, I had some help with the notes for this video, and that is because of some private matters that are going on at home right now. Shout out to Pidgey for being awesome and doing this for me. And according to what he watched, he also made skits and thought he was funny. I'm going to highlight what is written in these notes. This line sums up his comedic ability. He would also do skit-style comedy on his channel, and would later make a Vine account where he goes through his day-to-day life, attending concerts, making music, mowing the lawn, and trying to be comedic. And in parentheses, Pidgey wrote, keyword, trying. This was written by Pidgey, a guy who can do a flawless impression of Chills and has an amazing sense of humor. So if he says the comedy was shit, I tend to believe him. Vine was a strange place. It was created for people to make short videos, and I mean short. I cannot remember the length, but if I'm remembering right, it was around 10 seconds. And well, the only Vine I ever liked was this.
That awkward moment when you're scrolling through someone's old Instagram photos and you accidentally comment the entire Declaration of Independence.
Austin didn't do just covers. He wrote his own music, which was generic sounding. I could only find a handful of songs on YouTube, and it just sounds like the stereotypical white guy with an acoustic guitar. And his lyrics were just as generic. But his EP titled We'll Fall Together did reach number 12 on the iTunes music chart. In 2010, he released an album, which didn't get him much mainstream attention. Mostly all the attention he got was of his covers of songs, and his fans were mostly teens on the internet. While nowadays, that will net a musician a sizable following, that really wasn't the case in 2010. In 2010, mainstream play was very important as the music industry was slowly transitioning to more digital stuff, and those charts were made more important because of it. But remember the audience I mentioned, teenagers. He was popular with teen girls, up there with boy bands like One Direction and the Jonas Brothers. He made that audience based off of how he portrayed himself, as a sensitive man, showing a more vulnerable side. He also portrayed himself as he wasn't above his fans, but one of them. A down-to-earth man, so to speak. He made himself relatable to his fan base, and he used YouTube, Vine, and his music to speak to young girls, which some were innocent and vulnerable. Little did they know, though, that the down-to-earth, equally vulnerable man who was willing to speak to them, to joke with them, was manipulating them to get what he wanted. In 2015, the darker side of Austin Jones had begun to emerge. While many girls came out with stories of him preying on them, most were dismissed as a bunch of fans who were mad that he wouldn't talk to them, when in truth, they should have been listened to. Girls from the ages of 11 to 15 were asked by him to do twerking videos. While that doesn't sound serious, allow me to show you what twerking is if you didn't know. Now, I hope you understand why this is questionable behavior on his part. It is a very sexual thing that kids as young as 11 should not be doing. He would use his fame to his advantage as well as these kids' desire for his attention, using them in his own sick and twisted ways. He would play them off as requests, saying they were auditioning for him, for modeling and other such endeavors, when in reality, all he was doing was fulfilling his own perverted desires. He would call these teens cutie and compliment them before asking them, and in one instance, he sent a video of himself showing how to do the move to a minor that was leaked.
Hey cutie, so this is like the first basic twerk move. So this is what you do.
The farting sound effect was added by me. I'm sorry, I really needed some levity. Anyways, the person who he sent this to leaked it, and he freaked out, asking them to please take down the video and that he will expose himself in 2 months. Not expose as in show his tiny wiener, expose as in share the truth. But why 2 months? Well, he was going to be on the Warped Tour and didn't want to miss it. The leaker did delete it, but in the most Chad move possible, put it back up while he was on tour. Another 15-year-old girl would also at this time open a petition on change.org to have Austin Jones removed from the Warped Tour. It did receive the support it needed, but it didn't meet the threshold. Austin would drop out of the Warped Tour anyways. But there was something shady happening during this tour to begin with. Another artist, called D Fizzy, attempted to bring all of this up to companies to attempt to get Austin Jones to be pulled from concerts. This went as well as wearing an I Love Satan shirt to Sunday service. One business contacted D Fizzy back, telling him that he was a bully, and that he was trying to mess with Austin Jones's mental health. D Fizzy was trying to protect kids and teens from Austin Jones, and this man deserves to be recognized for this, even if his haircut is a little bit weird. But he was trying to do the right thing. D Fizzy himself was removed from concerts because of this. Granted, he was re-added later, but all the businesses and concert venues only cared about was money, not the safety of the audience. While Austin did only ask for videos, it is not a stretch to assume that if he had access to a teenage girl and the opportunity, he would have done more than ask for twerking videos. After a bit of silence on the situation, Austin Jones would return to the internet for an apology video. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, when it comes to apology videos, with 10 being the most cringe, this shit is a 20! His apology wasn't really an apology. It was more he wanted to explain his behavior away. I'm gonna say this. He started with this quote.
Hi guys. I know a lot of you probably have some really harsh and negative opinions towards me right now, and I understand why you do. But I'm asking you to please put those opinions aside for a few minutes and listen to everything I have to say. And if by the end of the video you still have the same opinion, then so be it. But at least you will have your opinion based off of the full story and the truth.
This is a complete misdirection, because the only truth is he did these things, and there has been documented proof of him doing it. Therefore, he is attempting to play this whole thing off as harmless. If he was to just apologize and seek counseling, the video in question would probably be under 5 minutes. But his apology video, titled Setting the Record Straight, is about 16 minutes and 48 seconds long.
I've recently come under some fire on social media for mistakes I've made in the past. I used to ask fans for twerking videos. Yes, twerking the dance move. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I think is right. And I shouldn't have done it.
He claims nothing happened other than twerking videos, that they were a harmless joke, that he did it for the attention, never once saying in the video he was asking underage girls to do it. Maybe because if he had, he would be seen for what he truly is. Someone Chris Hansen would ask to take a seat.
I'm Chris Hansen, Daylight NBC, doing a story on it.
He claimed in the video that nothing he wanted was sexual in nature, that it was just a harmless dance. So remember, this is not something he wanted for sexual purposes and was harmless. He also then went into making excuses for his behavior, saying he was lonely, that he wanted attention, that he had issues with self-confidence, that deaths in his family left him depressed, which do not excuse his actions. I, for one, suffer from depression. And as of writing this video, my father just passed away. I am not going to go out and use others for my personal satisfaction. Stating all this stuff is just a way to gain sympathy, to manipulate the viewer into feeling sorry for him and forget what he did. But then he went deeper with it, claiming he received death threats, that people wanted him to end his own life, and that he Googled how to do that. This might be the case, and if it is, then he should have reached out to someone for help. But putting it in a video that was meant as an apology also suggests he's trying to manipulate the viewer to feel sorry for him. He also had the balls to say that a reputable source had told him that it was all fine. Yet he fails to say what the reputable source was. Was it a police officer, a judge, a lawyer, or was he talking out his ass? My money is he's talking out his ass. He states in the video that he would never do it again, that he's grown since then. But here comes a conundrum. If a person, famous or not, admits to doing something highly suspicious, yet states that they will never do it again, do we hold them to that? Do we not sweep it under the rug to be forgotten? Or do we give them a second chance to prove this? In the first case, if we don't hold them accountable for their actions, they will see that as they are untouchable and can get away with it, and will likely reoffend. While on the other hand, if we drop it, we give them a chance to prove they will never do it again. So which is better to do? In my opinion, we should hold the person accountable so that they realize their actions have consequences. And in the case of Austin Jones, he stated he would stop, but he didn't.
And then that was the point where he was like, how about you maybe twerk for me and send me a video? And I was really this was making me so uncomfortable.
After the horrible apology video, things went quiet for a while, but Austin hadn't stopped what he was doing. He escalated. I'm not going to go into the graphic messages, but I will go over some of the ways he was using teenage girls and what he was asking for. One ended up calling themselves his biggest fan, and he wanted her to prove this with twerking videos. And if she refused, he would guilt trip her into doing it. He would constantly remind her that she would need to prove that she was his biggest fan. In one instance, he suggested a teenage girl take off her underwear to do it so she can clap her cheeks better. In other instances, he would threaten to stop talking to the girls. But what was most disturbing was his request of what they say. He would ask them to say that they were his biggest fan, and say their age when doing it. As an example of what I mean, he would tell the teenager to say that this butt is 14 years old, or 12 years old, or 13, or 15. And like before, a lot of these claims were dismissed by his fans as people wanting attention, when in reality, those who were fans of his were blinded by what they felt was a handsome boy who was paying attention to his fan base. By June 9th, 2017, Austin Jones was being investigated, and Homeland Security ended up raiding his house. At O'Hare Airport, Austin Jones would be arrested. There were 2 cases levied against him. The first was from August of 2016, and this was the girl who he had been guilt-tripping into making videos. The whole prove you're my biggest fan thing. This one gets more sick when you know how far he was willing to go with it, causing her to stay up all night on a school night to get the right video from her. When she claimed that she was tired, he would just use guilt-tripping tactics to make her do it. Think about that. A man wanted a teenage girl to do a video, guilt-tripped her into doing it, making her prove herself and trying to make it the way he wanted it, where she would spend hours on hours on a school night to do it for him. The other was just months before he had been arrested, and this was a 14-year-old girl, and this one was worse, because he did the same things he did with the last one, but added a promise of sexual favors for it, which is something you would see on old To Catch a Predator clips. He ended up pleading guilty and got a sentence of 10 years. The defense during this time suggested that as a child, Austin Jones was essayed, trying to get him 5 years in prison, but he was sentenced to 10. He will be 36 years old when he is released from prison. They say fame and fortune changes people. Is that true? Or does it allow a person's true colors to manifest themselves? Did Austin Jones always have these thoughts in his head? Or did he see that he had power and could use it to fulfill his sick and twisted fantasies? I don't really know. What I do know, though, is that some people are not cut out for fame. And those who seek it should be wary that what they try to hide can manifest itself when you get that notoriety.
Rip.
What the fuck is going on?
Rip fruitcake.
What the hell's going on?